For some time on the Happy Families podcast, we have been sounding the alarm, making some noise, indicating that screens are bad for your child's socio-emotional health. The critics are still out there arguing that we don't have enough evidence and that people like me should not be saying the things that I'm saying. But the evidence is coming in. Every Thursday on the podcast, we do our best to dive into recent research that helps us as parents to understand the world that our children are navigating and moves us closer to better parenting, especially when it comes to screen time challenges. Today, we look at a brand new meta-analysis involving nearly 300,000 children investigating the relationship between how much your kids are on a screen and their social and emotional challenges. You don't want to miss these findings. Stay with us. Hello, welcome to the Happy Families podcast, real parenting solutions every day on Australia's most downloaded parenting podcast. If you're new here, thanks so much for joining in. Every Thursday, it's The Doctor's Desk, where we have a look at recent research and what it tells us about how to be better parents. Kylie, are you sick of me banging the screen time drum yet?
Well, yes and no. Yes, because we talk about it, it feels like nearly every day. But no, because I feel like there's so much validation coming through the research that's landing on your desk. You've been saying this for a really long time, and the research is now finally caught up.
So I'm following up yesterday's conversation with Dr. Brad Marshall. If you missed it, the Unplugged psychologist walked through a brand new study that he's done in an interview with me about internet gaming disorder and smartphone overuse and the impact that it has in all of the key domains of a child's well-being. It was a compelling, he explained the research so well. And in some ways, I feel like I'm being a little bit cheeky by sneaking in another study about screens. But when this one came across my desk, I wanted to have it back to back with Brad's conversation with me yesterday because it's just so important. So can I geek out a little bit? Why don't you ask me, do you have any questions, or should I just explain the study first up?
I'm really curious what the study showed.
All right, I'm very excited for this one. So here's what we've got. There's been a number of studies done over the last handful of years that are longitudinal studies looking at whether or not over time screen use increases children's socio-emotional problems, or whether or not socio-emotional problems lead children to use screens more often. So it's a question of causality. We can't ethically do the study here in terms of randomized controlled studies. So therefore, longitudinal studies and meta-analyses are the very best that we've got. With me so far? Mm-hmm. Okay. A total of 132 studies met the inclusion criteria for this systematic review. From those 132, they had to throw a couple out. They didn't quite tick every box. Ended up with 117 studies. This is a big meta-analysis with 292,739 children.
Wow.
Okay. And essentially what they're looking at is, how do we answer this question? Which direction is it going? Is it that kids that are having problems are spending more time on their screens, or is it kids that spend more time on their screens are having more problems?
So we have a case study of 6 in our home.
Oh, yeah. You add you and me, and it's 8.
And I would say it goes both ways. I watch our children when they are happy, healthy, strong, and have great connective relationships, they're on their phones less. But when they don't have that, they're on their phones more. And because they're on their phones more, they slide further and further down the big black rabbit hole.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
and it's devastating watching it.
Yeah. I'm doing circles with my finger. I'm trying to think of the word. It's like this reciprocal relationship where one thing causes the other.
It's a catch-22. Like it's just, you just keep going round in this cycle.
So here's what they found. Screen use leads to increased behavioural and emotional difficulties, while children with existing problems are more likely to turn to screens as a coping mechanism, creating an endless, unhealthy, maladaptive cycle. And I want to highlight this particular finding because this really grabbed me. The effects were strongest for gaming, and they were also strongest when kids exceeded recommended screen usage times. So give Mrs. Happy Families a PhD. We'll have to make you the queen of the doctor's desk. That's exactly what they found. It goes both ways. I'm just thinking of a few weeks ago, I had a particularly bad day. I was a little bit set off. I was not using any of the emotional regulation strategies that I teach other people to use. I was really, really struggling. And because I was not doing well from a socio-emotional perspective, I literally said to you, I'm not doing well. I was kind and polite about it, but I said, I'm not doing well and I need some time out. And I went and isolated myself in our bedroom and I sat on my phone and I played games, which is not what I do. Like, I'm not that guy.
And because you did that, your ability to regulate spiraled further and further down.
Yeah, when I came out of the room, I was cranky. I'm like, right, family, we're going to have a conversation. I'm mad. The gaming didn't make me better.
And it didn't go very well.
And no, it didn't. Mind you, the kids have probably been on their phones as well. But screens are just not associated with good outcomes. You know, the great irony here is that I went for a walk down at the beach earlier in the day for about an hour and I came back and I felt really good, but not quite good enough. And that's when I turned on the screen. I mean, I played more games that day than I probably had in the previous 3 months.
So here's the challenging thing. You're a highly functioning adult who understands, recognizes and knows the trap. And yet when we are not at our optimal, even you get caught in it, right?
Yep.
So you look at our kids who have not had the life experience, do not understand or recognize how enlightened the research is around this, find themselves spiraling down. But this is the hardest part of it. How do you get out of that? Like, how do these kids get out of it? Because once you're in it, it just reminds me of that scene from Percy Jackson when they're in the casino.
That's right. They go to the Lotus Hotel and Casino. They're trying to save the world. They get caught up in the lobby where they've got all the games everywhere, and it takes a long time. And then Percy's like, hang on, this place is a trap. They lock you in. They keep you here forever. That's exactly what they do.
And the challenge is our kids don't recognize the trap.
No. They
get stuck in it and they just keep being sucked in.
Immerse themselves in it. After the break, we're going to talk about what we can do based on this study that was only published a couple of months ago, 2025 study in Psychological Bulletin about electronic screen use in children's socio-emotional problems. Solutions next. Okay, Kylie, 3 things that I want to emphasize in terms of solutions here, critical things that parents can do when children are struggling socially and emotionally and they're turning to screens, or when their screen usage has led to struggles socially and emotionally. The first one is actually not about our parenting, but it's about a conversation with our kids. And it might sound a little bit like I'm deflecting, but it picks up on exactly what you said just a moment ago. I think that we, as a family, with our children, need to question the gaming industry's design, not our children's character. It's really easy to blame the kids and say, you're doing the wrong thing, you're making poor choices, you're being slack. And it's true that there's a bit of that going on, but I've been captured by it myself from time to time. The gaming industry and the social media platforms, they have never in history done anything in the best interests of our children. And they're not doing anything in the best interests of our children right now.
They're just trying to give them fun, honey.
The research clearly shows that gaming has uniquely harmful effects compared to other screen activities.
Just to be clear, I was joking.
Yeah, I know. But rather than blaming kids for being addicted, I think we need to recognize that the games are deliberately engineered to be compelling and they're just so hard to resist. And the gaming companies profit from keeping kids engaged. They exploit our children. They exploit my psychological vulnerabilities. So we don't want to step in with shame-based restrictions. It's so important. We don't step in and threaten to take phones off our kids or anything like that if they're on their phones too much. We've got to come up with better ways forward. We want to have honest conversations with the children about how the systems work and help kids to develop critical thinking about the forces that are effectively capturing their attention. So how do we do that? Number 1, we need to collaborate on guidelines rather than imposing limits. The more that we impose limits, force creates resistance. It just doesn't work. Research is really clear. There are benefits to staying within screen time guidelines and recommendations. But if you turn this into a power struggle about compliance, you are going to have World War III in your kitchen. There's going to be slammed doors. Kids are going to get sneaky. They're going to borrow their friends' devices. Old devices still connect to the Wi-Fi. You need to learn what devices are hooked up to your router if you're taking devices off kids, because they will find ways around it. It just doesn't work. We need to do the 3 E's: explore, explain, empower. Help them to understand why the limit's going to be helpful. Involve them in creating family screen time agreements. Focus on what they're gaining by being off the screen. So better quality sleep, more time with friends, more physical activity, more family time, improved mood, rather than focusing on what they're losing. Kids are just more likely to internalize healthy habits when we go through processes like the 3 E's and they feel heard and involved in the process and develop solutions themselves.
I know you touched on it, but I actually really want to emphasize the more involved we are in our kids' lives, the more time we spend with them in recreational pursuits and hobbies, the less likely they're going to be caught up in this massive trap.
And the more socially and emotionally healthy they will be. Of course, it's really hard when you're both working full time and the weather's bad and you've got limited time and limited space and there's all the other things that are going on in your life as well. But the more you can say, hey, kids, let's go for a bike ride, let's go for a walk, and encourage them to do it in whatever way is necessary, because sometimes the kids are like, no, I'm fine, I don't want to go anywhere. But getting them out and doing things with them or sitting down and playing some games at the table. I hate games. I just don't like them at all, but I will play them. Not often, but often enough, because I know that it's incompatible with scrolling, right? If you're playing a game at the table, there's no phones because you're playing a game, you're having family time. Get them involved with friends, that kind of stuff. And my last idea coming out of the back of this doctor's desk research is fundamentally we need to address the underlying needs, not just the screen behavior. So basically, when children with emotional difficulties are turning to screens for comfort, we have to ask ourselves
why.
Why? What needs are being met on the screen that aren't being met in real life?
Well, I don't think any need's being met. The only need that's being met is they actually don't get to think about. They get to have a vacation from their thoughts. But the reality is, it's a false sense of security because you're always thinking about it.
It's hollow and it's shallow, but I will push back a little bit on that, because the other week when I was having that really horrible day, basically I was having some conflict with one of the kids and it was blowing up. It was really ugly and I was feeling completely incompetent. And I turned on the game and I got on a roll. I started to absolutely blitz and I was undefeatable. Indefeatable. I could not be beaten.
Yeah, but it's still,
and I felt
there's this false sense, because as soon as you weren't playing that game,
I felt incompetent again.
Back out the door, and you felt incompetent.
Right, but I felt like I was competent, and I felt like I was choosing. And it gave me the false illusion of need satisfaction.
So I guess gaming and social media are very different, right? Because you can have this sense
connection.
Of competence there.
Yeah.
But I think too often what happens when our kids are struggling is they get on social media and they actually reinforce all the messages that they've got inside their head. I'm not good. I'm not worthy.
Yes.
All that because they're watching everybody else live these amazing lives and they don't feel like they're part of it.
Yep. So we need to understand those underlying needs and address those more than addressing the screen behavior. Yeah. The risks are real. And just like there were people who said, oh, no, smoking's not bad for you, even though the research was coming out bit by bit, trickling through, the risks are real. And we're seeing more and more research arrive that tells us that screens are the new smoking. They're a really, really big challenge and we need to address it. Our goal is to help our children to develop a diverse toolkit for managing life's difficulties. The screen, frankly, should not be in the toolkit. I just don't think that it's an effective tool for addressing any of the challenges that life throws at us adaptively. And this brand new research published in Psychological Bulletin is some more evidence of that. We will link to the study in the show notes. It's actually really compelling. The whole study is available for anybody to read. You don't have to subscribe or pay or download anything. It's all there. You can get access to it. If you think that this podcast will make your family happier or could help somebody who's going through some screen time challenges, we'd love for you to share this episode, share the podcast, share yesterday's conversation with Dr. Brad Marshall. Just click those share buttons. It takes about 10 or 15 seconds. Pass it along and make somebody's family happier. The Happy Families podcast is produced by Justin Coulson from Bridge Media. Mim Hammonds provides admin, research and other support, and more information and more resources are available at happyfamilies.com.au.